You're listening to Thursday Night AMP on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
But let me stop and put over our guest, because he is a fine, fine gentleman who I've seen many times before at WrestleManias around the country, and he is on Between the Ropes Radio at BetweenTheRopes.com and on terrestrial airwaves as well. Let me introduce Brian Fritz and let him talk.
Hey guys, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
How are things at BTR these days?
Keeping very busy. Just doing the podcast, punching them out when I can, and just trying to keep up with everything. There's so much that seems to be going on news-wise and everything going on in wrestling. It can be taxing sometimes to keep up on everything, can it?
It can indeed, and we've had a very taxing couple of months with big names in professional wrestling passing away, and I feel like it's something that might even be a little more personal for you than it is for the rest of us, being that you're in Florida, and a lot of retired wrestlers in the wrestling community are in Florida. Developmental's in Florida, NXT's in Florida. A lot of these things have to hit home to you, like Dusty Rhodes. I'm sure that one really struck a chord.
Absolutely. I think, Dusty, I think really hit a chord, and Piper as well, with a lot of wrestling fans. But, when you talk about people here in the South and the connection that Dusty Rhodes had with people that lived here in Florida, and, like I said, in the southeastern portion of the United States, what he meant to so many people. And you talk about a guy that was like a central figure to so many different wrestling fans growing up. And just the passion that he brought, and everybody had a connection with Dusty. You felt like you knew Dusty Rhodes. You felt like when he was doing a promo, he was talking just to you. And to have him pass away, it really hurt. I mean, it was very sad, and there's still a lot of people that I think are broken up about it, and rightfully so, because Dusty meant so much to so many people.
I feel the same way about both Rhodes and Piper, and one of the things that touches me about both of them, and it's something we're going to get into throughout the course of the show tonight, is the way their promos, it took you beyond just their wrestling ability, because they had tons of wrestling ability. But tons of people have tons of wrestling ability in this industry, and you said it yourself, Brian. When Dusty Rhodes was speaking to you, you felt that one-on-one connection, like his famous promo where he talks about coming back and making it one more time happen for him, and he says, "My hand, reaching out to your hand." And wrestlers these days are taught not to address the audience that personally, but Dusty Rhodes was inviting us to actually reach out and touch the television set.
Absolutely. Dusty knew how to get the emotion out of people. He knew how to touch you. And it was a special trait that not everybody has, but Dusty had it. He used it to his advantage. Because people look at him and say, that guy doesn't look like a professional wrestler. He doesn't look like he could necessarily beat anybody up. But he actually was a very good professional wrestler. He was very good in the ring. And what made him special was the way that he could talk to everybody.
I think that's also a very true trait for Roddy Piper as well. It was his promos, it was his way of speaking. Whether you loved to hate him or you loved him, either way, he stirred the pot and got a reaction out of people. And the thing that I've always identified with him is, a lot of people quote the line, "I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum." That's not my favorite Piper line. Mine has always been, "Just when you think you know the answers, I change the questions."
Yeah, and that's the thing about Piper. Those are the two most memorable lines, and I don't know if the rest of you guys too, have any other lines that really stand out, but that was the thing about Piper, and even with Dusty too, but especially Piper, the way he talked, he didn't need a catchphrase. Just the things that he would bring out, just on a dime, just like, who would have thought to say that? Who would have thought to go in that direction? It's just amazing, the things that would just come to him in the spur of the moment.
And one thing that with Piper always struck me is that, often he struck when the iron was hot. He would strike people with a coconut. He'd strike himself in the head with a glass bottle. He was not afraid to just completely go crazy and snap you into this world where you suddenly couldn't think it was fake professional wrestling, because this guy's a true lunatic.
And that's the weird thing about Roddy too, is that whether he really was a lunatic, whether he really was crazy or not, you believed it. He made you believe it. He wanted you to believe it. And we still wonder to this day, even after he's passed, was the man certifiable, or was it an act? Did he really delve that deep in protecting the business and believing in the business, even to the day he died? Or, was that really him?
Well, one thing I can say from having met him a few years ago at the Days of the Dead convention and getting to talk to him for a few seconds, I mean, I wish I had all the time in the world to talk to him, but obviously that's no longer possible. But even in those few seconds, the two things that I picked up on right away were, one, he wants everybody that's a fan of his to feel special because he joked with me, he shook my hand, he let me take the picture twice when the first one didn't come out. And the second thing that struck me is apparently that Jordan's car is moving. But no, the second thing that struck me was that he knows how to turn it on and off. Like, when he's just talking to a fan, he's a little more low-key. He's a little more, in the realm of just interacting with people. But when somebody would ask him to cut a promo or put them in a headlock, it was like you could see him turn on the character. And he just immediately became Hot Rod and had that crazy look in his eye.
Yeah, I think he loved people. He just loved being around people.
Yeah, go ahead, Jordan. What did you want to ask?
Yeah, and if you don't mind me going in on this topic, I just thought one thing about Roddy Piper is the thing about him is you loved him or hated him. And honestly, I love this guy's promos. This guy was truly a legend. And even the people that hated Roddy Piper and his character, he just got under people's skin. He still entertained everyone. He's one of those guys, it's like you could forget about your personal problems and everything, but when you watched him in the ring and cut a promo, he truly just made you forget about everything for that very moment. Roddy Piper, I've said this on In the Room, which you can catch on VOC Nation and other things. Roddy Piper is truly one of the greatest entertainers, not just of wrestling, but of all time.
I think that's very true. And what I want to ask Brian is because I know when WrestleMania season comes around, whether it's in Florida or somewhere else, and Brian's on the scene, he's talking to a lot of people in WWE, doing a lot of interviews, a lot of stuff gets uploaded to YouTube. What are the interactions you've had with Piper and Rhodes over the years that you can share personal anecdotes with us?
Well, when it comes to Piper, I only talked to him once, and quite honestly, I never met Roddy in person. I talked to him like a year or two ago, and the funny thing is, he was doing the media rounds because it was part of that What Would You Do for a Klondike Bar promotion that he was a part of.
Right, yeah.
And I got to speak with him, and it was funny because, like, in 1 minute, he would be happy-go-lucky and excited, and the next minute, he would almost be depressed and like, and be reciting a story or, and I mean, so he's just all over the place. Dusty, I knew better. I probably interviewed Dusty on the podcast, I don't know, a handful of times, and I'd met him a couple of other times. I've told, and Dusty was super nice to me. I remember, two quick stories. They were working in radio here in Central Florida. There was another host that we worked with that was a huge Dusty Rhodes fan. So as a surprise for his birthday, we got Dusty to call in. And this was when it was still Florida Championship Wrestling, and Dusty was working there. And so the morning of the interview, he called in. We had him on the air. It was great. We got done, and somebody called me from their PR department and said, "Hey, how'd everything go with Dusty?" And I said, "It went great." And they go, "Oh, good. I'm glad. I was a little bit worried." And I said, "Why so?" And he goes, "Well, we didn't have a good house last night, and Dusty was mad. And like seconds before I guess he went on the air, he was still arguing with somebody and still complaining about it. And then like the second that he got on the air, the second that the red light is on, he can turn it on." Another quick story too is even before he was back at Florida Championship Wrestling and he was doing Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling, he came on the radio show to promote it. And after the show, I went in the back and got to say hi to him and everything. And Dusty just started talking to me about the state of the wrestling business and this, that, and the other. The next thing you know, I'm in a room. Dusty walked into the next room, but I could still hear him. And he kept talking to me. The dream was taking a shower. And he kept talking to me. And then when he emerged again, luckily he had some, he had something on the bottom.
I was about to say, he did have a towel on, right? I hope so.
He had a towel on or he had something on. But he kept talking to me. And, I mean, he must have been talking for 10, 15, 20 minutes straight. And I was just, sitting under the learning tree listening to Dusty. And by the end of it, he gave me a big bear hug and thanked me again for, helping promote the show.
See, that just strikes me as classic Dusty, the fact that he wouldn't stop a conversation even to take a shower. And it just goes with his reputation of holding court. Like, when he's talking, people just gather around him and listen, and he just keeps talking.
Oh, absolutely, man. And it's great to listen to him as well, because you're going to learn something. You don't mind just sitting there and listening for as long as he wants to hold court, because you never know where the conversation is going to go, and you feel like you're going to learn something, and it's just fun to hear him.
Indeed. So how do we, in the wrestling fandom and the wrestling industry and the wrestling coverage, how do we overlap all these things together? Because at the same time that we're covering this news, and it's sad news that Piper and Dusty passed away, we also have these personal emotions. You have personal experiences. I have personal experiences, not with Dusty, but with Piper. And it's just very difficult right now to cover these stories and not get wrapped up in how I feel personally about, being a fan of these guys for so long.
Here, it's funny you say that, because here's the deep, dark secret that people don't like to flat out say. Here's why it's no fun getting old. It's not that you don't get smarter. It's not that you don't get wiser. It's not that you don't have so many experiences. It's that everybody else gets old too. And because of that, the people that you grew up watching and admiring and enjoying, they're getting older as well. And they're more likely going to pass away before you do. And to see these people that you've looked up to and enjoyed their work for so many years, they're legends in your mind. I mean, especially ones from your childhood that drew you into wrestling in the first place, and to see them pass away after you have this great connection with them, even though they gave you so many entertaining moments over the years, it's heartbreaking. It's sad.
Yeah, it's
my point on my case on it is that you watch these legends as a kid, and it's so sad to see these legends go. We have Dusty Rhodes, we have Buddy Landell this year, we have Roddy Piper. It's like this year is so devastating for wrestling, because we've lost so many legends, and not just legends that revolutionized this business, this industry, that made it what it is today. And to see these pioneers go is, honestly, it's truly heartbreaking. It's truly emotional. And honestly, it's another loss to the wrestling business with Dusty Rhodes, with Roddy Piper, with all of the legends that died this year. It's truly unfortunate. But Dusty Rhodes, I remember I was on the IWX once. I was working with Matt Tweeter, I think. This was in 2013. And Dusty Rhodes made an appearance on the show. And honestly, this guy was so nice, such a nice guy, so passionate about wrestling. And yeah, it's truly unfortunate what happened, and hopefully these deaths just they just don't happen anymore, because it's truly devastating.
Well, Brian's right about one thing. The real thing that sucks about getting older is that everybody else keeps getting older. So we're going to keep losing people that we grew up and were fans of and admired and hopefully got a chance to interact with before they left, but we can't stop the passing of time. However, we can do something about the wrestlers who are still here with us and help them improve their lives and live better lives going forward, and hopefully be around for many years to come. And in your way, Brian, you've helped us do that with Jerry Lynn. So I want you to tell people a little bit about that project this week.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for all the support that they did. And it's funny because I truly want to thank everybody for their help. And I know some people have said some nice things about me as well, which I honestly appreciate. But at the same time, I had a very small part in all of this. I helped set up the GoFundMe campaign to help Jerry as he was undergoing neck surgery and is most likely going to be undergoing back surgery here within the next month or two. And everybody else got behind this to help our good friend and spread the word and donated. And there's so many different people that donated and were very generous about it. We had over 500 donations. And, our goal was, Jerry's goal for this campaign was, this is all I need. It wasn't, hey, let's see how much I can make. And, anything that doesn't go towards medical costs or to help pay bills while he is out and cannot work, he didn't want that extra money. He just said, this is what I need. If we can get that, and anything else that we have extra, I want to share to other people in need. And he picked a charity in Nashville. We decided, $15,000 would be the amount, which I actually upped $1,000 just because I didn't factor in the fees that go with using a fundraiser like this.
Right. They take like 10% off the top.
Yeah. It's just shy of 10% when it's all said and done. So we put $16,000. We started the campaign on Monday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, and it was overwhelming to see the response from so many people, both in and out of the wrestling business. I mean, we can sit here and appreciate all of the different donations, especially some of the larger ones, but the ones that really blew me away too were the people that said, hey, I really don't have that much money, but I like Jerry so much. He did so, I appreciated his work in the ring, and he took time to, talk to me, times I got to meet him. And I just wanted to give something, and whether it was $5 or $10, that's amazing that people would do that. And like I said, there were some people in the wrestling business that were very generous.
If I understand correctly, I think Mick Foley was one of those people.
Mick Foley donated $500. Austin Aries donated $500. I can tell you that Lita donated, I believe it was $100, and, Adam Cole donated. Scott D'Amore donated $500 after we already reached our goal.
Rob Van Dam get in on the action there.
I don't know if I haven't seen if Rob did or not. I know Kerry Silken, he donated $250. There was a fan, can't believe I can't remember his name right now. I believe it's Craig, who I think knew Jerry, but just a little bit. Just knew him through another friend.
He donated this wouldn't be Craig Proper, would it?
No, it's a different Craig.
All right.
But he gave $1,000.
Wow.
$1,000. There was a fan on there that gave $300. And so I was sitting there, Wednesday night, Thursday morning. It was around midnight. And, we were at around $15,000. We're just $1,000 shy of the overall goal. So we're basically right there. And my whole thing was, wouldn't it be great if we hit the goal before he had surgery on Thursday morning? And I got the call that night, and they said, hey, did you see what Chris Jericho did? And I was like, no, what? I haven't looked at it, in like an hour. Chris Jericho not only put the campaign over the top, but he helped smash it by donating $2,000.
Awesome.
And at that point, we're at $17,000, and right now we're almost at $18,000. And it's just fantastic. The way that the wrestling community pulled together to help Jerry Lynn you're talking about one of the truly nice guys in the business, and I don't think anybody has anything bad to say about, and they really shouldn't. We could sit here and talk about what a fantastic worker Jerry was in the ring, how talented he was, which he definitely was, and all the different matches that he entertained us with. But on top of that, Jerry is a very good, honest man, and for everybody to help him out, in his time of need when he hasn't asked anything of anybody before, and then to come together and help him out like this is fantastic, and I'm just glad I had a very, very small part in all of this, and I just wanted to help my friend, and everybody else they're the ones that really, pulled together and made this happen for them.
Well, two things. Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, the thing I wanted to say is, who's surprised that they've donated this much money? Because Jerry Lynn obviously is a legend. He gave so much to this business, and all everyone is doing is giving things back to him. He's getting what he deserves. He's getting that fundraiser set up, which is perfect. So much money has been raised. And you got to give kudos to the wrestlers and the fans that donated that much money. Jerry Lynn is truly a legend, and he deserves all the money he can to support his surgery. And definitely, I've had the honor and privilege to talk to Jerry Lynn before, and he's nothing but a nice guy, and he's truly phenomenal in the ring. I actually, once in a while, actually probably once a week, I watch Jerry Lynn match. This guy is incredible in the ring. He's one of my favorite wrestlers as a kid. Just watching tapes of him, and it's truly good to see that all of this money has been donated to him and a good cause.
Yes, and two things to further what he just said. And first, it speaks to the character of Jerry Lynn, and I don't know him as personally well as you do, Brian, or as well as many other people do, but as somebody that's been to a Ring of Honor show when he was the ROH World Champion and bought a Jerry Lynn shirt that night just thinking, this guy has given me so much, the least I could do is buy one of his shirts and hope he gets the money back from this. This is like that tenfold, and it warms my heart to see how many people he touched, whether it was personally or just by being entertaining in the ring, have given back. But it also speaks to his character that the money above and beyond the goal went to that charity in Nashville. I believe it was a children's center or a youth center. You can correct me if I'm wrong about that.
It's the Nashville Rescue Mission, which helps homeless people in the area and other people that are in need that have had that need help at a treatment facility. And the reason why Jerry picked that charity is because that charity helped out a family member of his in the past, and they did a great job in helping them out. And that was the one that he chose. He thought that they would, they could obviously use the money if we had any extra. And obviously we do now. So in the coming weeks, he's going to be able to present them with a very nice check.
Yeah, and that's why I also wanted to say the GoFundMe, unless you've taken it down in the last few hours and I haven't noticed it yet, you could still donate and that money goes to that charity. So there's no reason for people to stop donating just because they hit the goal. If you want to help Jerry with the cause and make sure the rescue mission gets the funding they need, you can still donate right now.
Yes, we still have it up. It's at GoFundMe.com/help Jerry Lynn. I've talked to him today, but we haven't talked about when we're actually going to stop it. And I'm sure that's going to be very soon. But it's still up there right now. I know people have still been donating some money, throughout the day. Even over the past couple of hours, there's been a few people that have donated $5 each. And, altogether, it's 509 people now that have made donations, for $17,920.
That's just awesome. I hope people listening to this show will know that even though it's fully funded and his surgery is paid for, that they can still help out his good cause. And listening to this show, they can go to that link and donate a few dollars as well. And
you know what else you can do too is if you want to help Jerry and also get some cool stuff out of it. I know that a friend of his has made a T-shirt for him, which you can go to ProWrestlingTees.com and so they've now got at least one, and I think they're going to get a second Jerry Lynn T-shirt, and money made from that is going to go to Jerry as well. And I believe there's at least one thing that's on eBay right now, or there's something going on eBay. I'm sorry, I don't know the link, but I believe somebody is doing something for that. And I've already had one person reach out to me that they want to hold a show, with all the proceeds going to Jerry. And I know of one big name wrestler that said he wants to contribute something to Jerry to sell on eBay, that he can auction off and keep the money to help him.
That's fantastic. This is the kind of things, this is the kind of situation that it brings me into feeling better, into accepting the grief and the loss of great men like Piper and Rhodes, because the wrestling community, even in this time of mourning, is still coming together to help someone that's given us so much over the years. And when you say you talked to him today, was that before or after the surgery?
You know what the funny thing is? I thought he was going to call me this morning and he didn't. But we got the video. His wife shot a video which I put up online of him thanking everybody from the hospital before he went into surgery. And then, I spoke with him probably around 8:00 Eastern. And, he said he was doing well. And, he was in good spirits. He's under some very good drugs right now. But the doctor did tell him that it was a successful surgery. And, I think he's only got to stay in the hospital one day and then be able to go home. And they feel like in about a month, he'll be doing better. And that's good, I mean, that was something that the doctor was worried about, was just making sure his neck got better, because the funny thing is like his back.
Right, he's got a bulging disc in his back too, right?
Yeah, the back is what's more painful for him, quite honestly, but it was the neck that was very worrisome for the doctors, and that's why they wanted to have that procedure done first.
Right, and he had some numbness in one arm, right, from the pinched nerve in his neck?
Yeah, he's had that for a while now too, so we're hoping that, that will go away, and because he has that goes all the way down his arm into his hand, like some of his fingers sometimes go numb. So hopefully that won't be a problem going forward.
Yeah, that's the kind of issues that they were pretty much telling Daniel Bryan, maybe you shouldn't wrestle anymore, when he started having that kind of numbness in his arm and fingers as well. So hopefully it's corrected everything that was wrong there, and maybe that's something Bryan might need to do in the future, but we don't know, because he seems to not want to get surgery as much as possible.
Well, I wonder if his is a little bit different than what Jerry had, because Jerry had degenerative discs in his neck. And I don't know if that's the problem with Daniel. Obviously they've talked about, some nerve damage and things, but I don't know if it's to the level of what Jerry had. So
right,
hopefully
it's also,
if it is something that's serious, that he does have surgery or he doesn't risk.
Right. And there's also, of course, his whole concussion issue right now, which kind of muddies the issue of whether there's even something in his neck that's, damaged or pinched or degenerative, because they're not even clearing him from the concussion. So we can't figure out what it is that's troubling him more, because he's not being let back into the ring.
Yeah, I know. And that's the whole thing. And you could tell that he's really anxious to get back at the ring. And, he's sitting there talking about, hey, I've got this doctor who works in the NFL, is very much aware about concussions when it comes to professional athletes, and he's cleared me. And yet the WWE doctor is not. And I think he's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, because he understands they're looking out for his well-being, but at the same time, they're looking out for their own well-being as well. And he's sitting there going, I've been cleared by a world-class doctor, and I understand the risks, and I want to go out there. And at the same time, they sit there and go, you know what? We don't want to take the risk right now. And I think he originally thought that he was going to be back by SummerSlam. And now the belief is that he's not going to be back. He might not be back until around the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, well, it's almost starting to become a pattern at this point, that we get Daniel Bryan back early in the year, and then he stays through WrestleMania, and then he's gone for the rest of the year again.
Yeah, well, I'll say this though, man. I've got a feeling that they do not want to bring him back at the Royal Rumble, considering what's happened the last 2 years.
Oh, yeah, that's been a big bombshell both times.
Yeah, so if he comes back, I would suggest that he'd probably be back in like November, or not come back until February.
Right, either Survivor Series or right after the Rumble, one way or the other.
Yeah. You know what's funny? You mentioned the Jerry Lynn, being Ring of Honor champion, because I know you've met him a few times, Stevie, and were you there the night? Were you at that Ring of Honor show, the WrestleMania weekend, when he did win the ROH championship?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, I was at that show too. And the funny thing is like, so I've known Jerry for a long time. I've known him for almost 20 years now, and it's funny, traveling on the road with him, the times that we did, or just knowing him as well as I did. We kind of had like this secret code where he wouldn't tell me what was going to happen in a match, or he wouldn't say, hey, this is playing out to here. And I didn't need to know. And it's funny because I was at that show too, and I had no idea he was winning the belt. And I was actually sitting like in the bleacher area, like at the top, and he won the championship. And like, I turned into like a 5-year-old kid. And I swear to God, 2 seconds later, I was standing by the guardrail, and I just sprinted all the way down there. It was incredible. And that's the way he liked it. He was laughing about it later, going, you had no idea. And I was like, I didn't, man. And that's just the wrestling fan in him too, and it wasn't just being old school. It's just, he liked surprises. He liked it that people didn't know, and you'd have that spur of the moment reaction. And, that was Jerry.
One of my favorite memories of that weekend, actually, is the next day we were going to, I believe it was to the WWE Hall of Fame, or maybe it was to WrestleMania itself. I don't remember which it was specifically, but we were just walking down the street, and a limo pulls up, and he gets out, and he's got the belt with him, and I'm like, hey, Jerry! And he just smiles and waves, and he's on his way, and it was just like, man, this is the greatest weekend ever. I'm going to WrestleMania. Jerry Lynn won the world title. Here he is, right here on the street of his title. And meanwhile, our friend Ed in San Antonio is marking out, going, "Hey, Jerry, let me wear the belt last night." I'm like, Ed, come on.
Well, here's the thing about. Okay, so here's a little backstory about that. So, Ed was like, "Hey, man, I know you're staying with Jerry. Can I come over? I want to see the belt. I want to see the belt." And so, of course, he came over to the hotel room and, saw the belt, took a picture with it, and was freaking out. And a little funny backstory about that too, even before Ed got there. So, me and Jerry, and then we had another friend of ours staying with us in the room. We were all there. Jerry's just won the belt. We're back in the hotel room. He takes a shower. He comes out of the shower, partially dressed, thankfully. And
this is a recurring theme on the show today.
I know, right? And I'm sitting there watching TV, leaning back in the chair, and I'm wearing the Ring of Honor championship around my waist. Like, totally snapped on like a champion. I got my hands over my head, like leaning back, going, "Oh!" And he like looked at me, and he had to do a double take. He was like, "What's going on over there, man?" And, I was wearing the belt.
So you actually got your hands on the belt before Ed did even.
Well, I mean, the man wasn't around. He just left it there, and I just took advantage of the moment.
I do not blame you in the least for that. And obviously Jerry was gracious about it because he didn't toss you out on your ear for doing that.
No. Plus I'm the one that got the room. I got that whole setup. So, he had nowhere to go.
Yeah, what was he going to do at that point? He was like, "No, I paid for the room. You can go." Well, Jason, you've been kind of quiet this whole time. Do you have any questions for Brian Fritz?
There was one memory I wanted to bring up about Jerry Lynn. One of my favorite moments from Jerry Lynn was he had several years back, he came on the O Show and was talking about the music his daughter listened to, and he ended up singing on the air. I think it was Bad Romance. It was some Lady Gaga song, and that just absolutely floored me. That's one of my favorite moments ever from Jerry Lynn.
And we all know what a death metalhead Jerry Lynn is, so for him to be singing Lady Gaga is really something.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we all know the devil horns he throws up in the ring. And yeah, I loved watching his feud with Rob Van Dam, but yeah, him singing Lady Gaga just kind of tops everything for me.
I was just going to say that too. If you watch a Jerry Lynn and Rob Van Dam match, whether you watch it on TV, or TV repeat or something, or just watch it on YouTube, you're going to be truly entertained. Those two in the ring were truly phenomenal. Watching Jerry Lynn and Rob Van Dam go head to head in the ring was truly like an honor to watch. Like, if you ever see those two in the ring, you know something good's going to go down.
They had the chemistry. They talk about marriages in wrestling and having the perfect dance partner. When RVD and Jerry Lynn got in the ring, you could tell they were married. They just had that undeniable chemistry. Am I hearing an echo of myself, or is that somebody in the background with Jordan's car? I don't know if that's my...
I don't think it's from my car. No,
Okay.
It's not from my car.
Okay, I was hearing an echo there.
I heard a bit of an echo too, but yeah, they did. Van Dam and Lynn just did kind of capture lightning in a bottle with that chemistry that you don't see very often. And yeah, they had their series of matches back and forth, and what a series it was.
Honestly, though, I honestly felt that Nigel and Jerry had that same chemistry when they were in the ring together. I was getting deja vu watching the two of them work. Like, man, they are busting all the stops out here. And it's kind of a shame when I say that, because Nigel has also had to hang it up and retire from active competitive wrestling. And he's another class guy that I've met and talked to. And I'm torn, Brian, when I say this, because it's like, the people that I love, I respect them for stepping away and not endangering their health and getting out while they still can get out, if they can do that. But at the same time, it's like, man, we're losing people to the Grim Reaper, and then we're losing people to retirement. It feels like everybody I love is going away.
Yeah, it's part of getting old, like we talked about before. But as long as, I think the important thing is if they're happy, they're healthy, and they gave us so many different memories that we can relive. I mean, we can go back and we can watch all those videos, whether it's on YouTube or it's on tapes we own or on the WWE network. I mean, it's all out there for, us to enjoy for the rest of time.
That's one of those things I need to actually look up is, would that Super Card of Honor be on the ROH Ringside membership? Like, if I log in, can I watch that like you can watch a match on the WWE Network? I need to look into that.
Yeah.
If not, I'm sure I've got the DVD, because that year in particular, when I saw him in Houston, I was buying Ring of Honor DVDs like a madman. I was not just buying the ones for the shows that year. I was backlogging and buying like every show I'd ever missed ever. I was a super hardcore Ring of Honor fan around that time. It's kind of funny how far it's come now that it's been on Sinclair for a few years now, and it's also distributed on Destination America, although they just changed the time slot. So
I have a sneaky suspicion that Destination America is not going to be in the wrestling business by the end of this year.
Yeah, actually, I've heard somebody, I think it was Dave Meltzer, say that we can take the fact that they moved Ring of Honor from before Impact Wrestling to after, and take that as a sign that they're getting out of the wrestling altogether, that they're not even going to keep Ring of Honor, which I was given to understand Ring of Honor was a very low-cost move for them. So if they're getting rid of Ring of Honor when it's costing them almost nothing, then they really are getting out of the wrestling game.
Well, the thing about Ring of Honor, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, the thing about Ring of Honor is if they do lose their affiliate with Destination America as their TV network, they will definitely still have the other network to support them, which is a good thing. But with TNA and Destination America, we know that that is on thin ice. But regarding Ring of Honor, if they lose Destination America, or Destination America doesn't last by the end of this year, then that's all good. Ring of Honor is going to find something else because the promotion continues to grow. TNA, I don't know, however.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen with TNA, and that is the big question that looms out there. Just like you said, I mean, Ring of Honor is going to be okay because, I mean, anything that they get on Destination America was like found money. Just with the people that they got there. I mean, they're still going to be on all the different Sinclair stations they were on before. And that nothing's going to really change there. I mean, the only benefit that they really got from being on Destination America wasn't, direct monetarily. It was, just trying to get more eyeballs on the product.
Right. So even if it only lasted for 3 or 6 months, however long that run turns out to be on Destination America, it still helped them in terms of the bottom line. Cause like you said, free money, they basically get extra revenue for a show they already had packaged in the can for their affiliates, and they get a few more people aware of Ring of Honor. So a no-lose situation really for them, whereas TNA, without a TV network, what are they at this point? Because they've only got one show scheduled, Bound for Glory, and I believe that's in North Carolina. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brian.
Yeah, it's in Charlotte.
Yeah, Charlotte, North Carolina. So they got one show. They don't do house shows anymore. They're not going to the UK until like January, February next year. So what are they really? I mean, I've been struggling with this issue for a while now. It's like they're a wrestling company that pretty much only exists on TV, and I don't know if there's really a precedent for that.
And I'm not trying to talk down about them, but I don't even know if you can really call them a quote unquote wrestling company at this point. They're a TV show. I mean, that's what they are, is they're a TV show. And, they're just hanging on. I mean, they'll try to tell you that everything is going to be fine. Everything's going to work out, and I hope it does. But I mean, there's obviously some major problems there that we don't know the answers to. And I don't know if they know the answers to as well. I mean, I've even seen some wrestlers, people talking about, can't wait to see you next time at the tapings. And they're like, when are you guys going to be back in Florida? And they're like, I don't know, because there's nothing scheduled right now. And they've already done all the tapings that they need to do to fulfill their contract on Destination America. And they've done, the one night only pay-per-views from now until probably, 2024. They've got to find another TV deal before they actually hold TV tapings again.
Right. Well, I guess they've got the international deals, though. They've still got TNA in India and the United Kingdom and whatever other countries they have. But clearly that kind of revenue is not enough to hang on to the big money players in TNA, because we've seen a lot of people who are parting ways with the company, including longtime veterans like Cowboy James Storm, who was almost since day one with TNA. And when you're losing guys like that, it's like even the people who stuck with Dixie Carter through all the ups and downs, through all the Vince Russo bullshit, even those people are finally saying there's no future here and packing their bags.
Right. It's just not worth them, monetarily, considering what they were making and what they're probably being offered now. So James Storm is gone, Magnus is gone. And we'll see, Austin Aries was barely back, but it looks like he's gone, the way that they did a storyline with him in the upcoming tapings. So, it's just as bare bones as possible. I mean, an MVP's gone. I mean, he'll tell you that he quit and they'll tell you that he was fired. But there's a lot of questions about who's going to be part of that roster. I mean, obviously they got both the Hardys and Kurt Angle's there, but I don't know how much longer he's going to be wrestling for. It was funny because it seemed like it wasn't too long ago where he said, this is going to be my last year. And then out of nowhere, he's like, I got 2 years left. And I'm, what? Okay. So, and they've got, EC3. And then past that, it's just like whoever they can get to come to the tapings for that night.
Honestly, with Kurt Angle, it scares me at this point when he says he's going to wrestle for a couple more years. Talk about all the neck issues he's had, and he just had surgery to remove a tumor from his neck because he was getting fluid and it was causing impingement in his neck and giving him numbness. And he gets this tumor removed, and then he has additional swelling after that, and it's like, you know what, Kurt, these are signs. Maybe you should just, between having a broken neck and having tumors in your neck and having numbness in your arms and all the other things that you've had go wrong, maybe this is a time for you to step away.
Well, the thing is with, sorry, Brian, the thing I think about Kurt Angle is that he's made enough money in this business. He's definitely made a very, very comfortable living off of this business. And the point is that he continues to wrestle because he loves to wrestle, but at the same time, he runs that risk of getting really, really hurt and losing a bunch of money. Looking at TNA and all the talent that has left the company, it's truly unfortunate because we look at 2003, we look at 2007, we look at 2010. Those are high times of TNA. Those are when TNA was at its strongest. Some could say, some could disagree. But we look at TNA now and all these stars that we watched so many years ago are now, they're all leaving. TNA is not, I said this so many times before on AngryMarks.com and other podcasts that I'm on, is that TNA is not what it used to be, and that is why everyone is leaving the company.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's not the same. I mean, living here in Central Florida, I went to those shows when they first came, to Universal Studios, when they created the Impact Zone, and you had these incredible matchups between Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles, and the X Division was a really hot thing at the time, and it seemed like they found their niche. They were something different. They were an alternative, and they changed up the product because they felt like we need to get some veterans in here. We need to get some bigger names. And with that came bigger paychecks, and they took bigger risks. And but I just remember, around that period, I think it was like 2004, 2005, TNA was hot. And it seemed like they were going someplace. And then,
if I could jump in here too on TNA around that era. I think it was like 2003, when Roddy Piper first showed up in TNA. And this is one of my favorite memories of Piper. It wasn't the first time that he got on TV in TNA. It might have been the second or third week he was there. But he called Vince Russo. He goes, "You piece of garbage." And that will always stick out in my mind because at this time, the demises of both WCW and ECW were still fresh in my head. The weekly Wednesday pay-per-views that TNA was running was really the only alternative that there was to WWE at the time. And Piper calling Vince Russo out for essentially ruining the wrestling business and, killing WCW, that was a breath of fresh air for me, and that's one of the things I'll remember most about Roddy Piper.
I think it was kind of a worked shoot, as they say. I think he was probably told to cut a promo on Vince Russo, but he also probably didn't feel the least bit bad about it because I'm sure they had some history in WCW.
With the powers that be and whatnot, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that's kind of a bringing it full circle thing to tie this all together is that both Dusty Rhodes and Roddy Piper are people that we can talk about who had their time in both WWF and WCW and WWE. They encompassed all of it. Of course, Dusty had, wrestling in Florida, as everybody knows, and Piper worked all the territories all over the map, from Oregon to California to, the Southeast and everywhere else. But these guys kind of embodied wrestling history, and that they had been everywhere, seen it all, and done it all.
And you're not going to see that much in wrestling just because the way that the business has changed. The people that were able to travel the world, and work in all these different promotions and all these different places. I mean, there's few and far between. I mean, Chris Jericho was out there. You've got, Daniel Bryan, somebody that did that. And then you've just, got a handful of other people besides that. And, it's something it's not going to be common because there are no more territories. That just doesn't exist. And people typically do not travel the world, they're not going to be going to Japan. They're going to be going to England and going to Germany and then working in the United States and even possibly working in Mexico or Canada. You're just not going to see that often.
I almost feel like these days what guys are trying to do, and Brian, you can give me your perspective on this as well, is guys are trying to work on the independent scene, hope they get noticed by somebody like New Japan Pro Wrestling or Ring of Honor, and hopefully use that to springboard themselves into NXT and get into WWE. It seems like that's what's replacing territories these days, is hoping to pay enough dues on the indies to get noticed by a mid-level and then springboard to NXT.
Well, and I think for some people too, what they do is they talk about, they have a certain passion for the business and they do, and they work on, their in-ring skills. They work on their promos, and that's what they use a Ring of Honor for and other promotions, and rightfully so. And a lot of them have a great time doing it, and they enjoy working there. And it's all even when it comes to money and everything, that they wouldn't mind staying there. There's probably plenty of people that would be happy with that. But we all know that, how large the WWE is, all the different places that they spread to and the popularity and just putting you on a whole different stage, the enormity of it. And we've seen even what they've done with NXT and the spotlight they've been able to put on it. And that's going to continue to get bigger. So this is what people are going to do. They're going to try to, make a name for themselves on the indies and, hone their talents. And then, if they get noticed and WWE likes them, and they feel like the time is right, we're going to jump to NXT and then hopefully, make it to the main roster.
Well, and that's something Jason and I have talked about extensively when we talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling, is how big of a superstar Virgil Devitt was for New Japan Pro Wrestling, and yet he was still lured away by the opportunity to come to NXT to take part in their program and to hopefully springboard himself into being a main roster WWE superstar. It's like even New Japan, which is one of the best paying promotions in the world from what I understand, it still was enough to lure him away from them.
Well, I think part of the deal there too was he just wanted to see, I haven't had that opportunity. I haven't gone there. What could I do? I want the next challenge in my career. And that's why he decided to go there. And, he's in NXT. And my understanding is, and I've heard this, I'm sure a lot of people have heard this, is that WWE is still very high on him and he's a protected guy. And they do have plans for him once he gets to the main roster. It's just they have to decide when that time is. And it has to be the right storyline, but they're very high on him, and he is a protected man right now, and there's not too many of those, but he's one of them.
Do you feel like that? Go ahead, Jordan.
Sorry, Steve. You look at the scenario when Frugal Devitt was in Japan, and he was making impact in Japan. WWE kept they didn't really look at him. It wasn't his time yet. But now that he's in NXT, he's performing at that high level. And now he's proving to WWE that he does belong there. And hopefully he belongs on the main roster soon. He gets a promotion to the main roster. Because right now in NXT, he's excelling.
Yeah. And that's what I wanted to ask Brian, was about protected guys, because we had that feeling when Kevin Steen first came in and they changed him into Kevin Owens, that Triple H had a personal interest in him. This was the report we were hearing. This is the way he was pushed. And now that he's on the main roster, I feel like that protected guy status has gone away. And ever since the feud with John Cena ended, it just seems like he's just another guy.
Well, I think there's two things in play there. One is we sit here and we see the fantastic work that he does and how different he is for so many different people, from his look and his style of promos. But at the same time, is that really translating over to selling tickets at house shows? And the answer so far has been no. Apparently there has been a little bit of a dip. it's not being maintained. The other thing is too, and I don't know why this happens, but many times in WWE, if you look at it, there is this weird formula that they have from a standpoint of they will bring a guy in and they'll do something right off the bat. It'll be hot, right? I mean, they'll put him in there with John Cena. They'll put him in something really, really big. And then a lot of times, whether it's a month later or 4 months later or whatever it is, they cool him back. They put him in the mid card. You start having a few losses here and there and you feel like you're marginalizing him. And then the time will come where they decide, okay, we're going to put him back in the main event. We'll put him back up, towards the higher end of the card, or this is the spot for him. And I don't know if that is just to see how the audience reacts. I don't know if it's like a test for the talent to see if they complain or how they deal with a situation like that. But that's one of these things that the WWE does for whatever reason.
The perfect example of that to me is what happened when they brought A-Train, Prince Albert, whatever you want to call him. They brought him in as Lord Tensai and gave him that win over John Cena pretty much, I think it was the night after WrestleMania, his first night. And then after that you thought, Tensai and Cena, this is going to be huge. They obviously liked this guy because they knew him from when they had him as A-Train. He went over, he did all this stuff in Japan, and he was great over there. They're going to be really big behind this guy. And he got that program with Cena right off the bat. And then, like you said, a few months later, it cooled off, and then it never seemed to heat back up again.
Well, I think that one was because that was just a failure. That was to me, that was a Vince McMahon specialty. Oh, let's bring in this big guy to feud with Cena. We'll make him a monster. And everybody was like, what's this hokey gimmick from 1986 doing in today's wrestling? And it just failed on so many different levels.
Well, I think it could have even worked better if they didn't give him a Japanese sidekick to throw salt around the ring and really make it into a big stereotype. If they had just said, here's this killer from Japan, look at all these things he accomplished in Japan, and then just let him go out there and kill people, that would have been enough.
Maybe
That's
it would have worked a little bit better too.
Hit on here, Stevie. With Fergal Devitt going to WWE, he had one thing going for him in that he was Caucasian. Another thing going for him was that he was an IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. Now, the fact remains to be seen if WWE would, number one of the Japanese wrestlers that would contend for one of the major belts, like the IWGP Heavyweight Championship or the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. Like, would WWE go after a Kazuchika Okada, a Shinsuke Nakamura, a Hiroki Goto? I doubt it. Would they be able to lure them away? Maybe. It's like the only guy I can see in New Japan right now that WWE would perhaps want would be AJ Styles.
Brian, go ahead. It sounded like you were about to say something.
Well, it's funny you say that because the thing that we'd always heard about AJ was that they were not interested, but then now it sounds like they could be interested. And I'm not saying anything's going to happen with that. And, are they truly interested? And would AJ be interested as well? I mean, there's a lot of question marks that go with that. It's funny. We sit here too and we wonder, is WWE starting to look at guys a little bit differently? Because we can sit here and talk about the way that they use Kevin Owens, but at the same time, they still brought him in and they still gave him an immediate push with NXT, and they did bring him up to the main roster so much quicker than anybody expected, and they gave him a push there initially. And they brought in a Fergal Devitt, which we didn't think would ever happen. They brought in Samoa Joe, which we didn't think would happen really. And so, they're looking at guys in a different light. So I do wonder if they would be open to maybe bringing over a Japanese star or two. The guy to me that would make a lot of sense. I think it makes a lot of sense to everybody. It's just whether or not they could get him would be Nakamura. I mean, between Nakamura and Okada, those would be the two guys that I think WWE would probably be most interested in. Or I'd hope they would.
I would agree. I'd like to pose this question to you. I threw this out as a question of the week a couple weeks ago. Packaged as he is now, do you think Shinsuke Nakamura could get over, number one, with the NXT crowd and number two with the WWE crowd?
NXT crowd, absolutely. The bigger challenge would be with the main WWE roster. And you've got to put him obviously in the right storyline. And maybe you have to put a manager with him. Maybe you have to put, a talking head with him, and, too bad. Paul Heyman would be fantastic. I just don't think that's going to happen. Paul's so, deeply entrenched with Brock. I think that's the way it's going to stay. And we've already seen what happened when he got a second guy. I mean, it worked with Punk because it was CM Punk, and Punk could talk on his own too. It would be different though if it was somebody he had to do a lot of talking for as well. So, you know, and it's funny because like the audiences between NXT and WWE are vastly different because, you know, there's so many people that we sit and go, wow, NXT is growing and they've got a bigger audience than they do, but it's still a fraction of the audience that watches WWE. I mean, just look at what they've done with some of the women coming up there, and we sit there and go, wow, man, they're bringing those women up. We're so excited, and they're having good matches, and there's people that are watching, you know, they're at Raw, and they're going, wait a second, they're actually having a real match here, and it's going beyond 5 minutes? What the hell's going on?
It's unprecedented that we're getting these guys and getting them in the main roster and getting them to have matches that even look like the NXT matches when we get used to it being a completely different product, and then you get to see Neville come up on the main roster and have a 15-20 minute match to open Raw. It's like, holy crap, which show am I watching right now?
I know.
Well, our time does draw short, Jordan, but if you got one more question, go ahead.
Yeah, the thing which WWE has been doing really well is that they give us a lot of surprises. We see Samoa Joe, and I'm kind of referring to the AJ Styles topic in saying that you never know what's going to happen. I know AJ Styles, he can say whatever he wants to say, but you never know what WWE can do. WWE at times it's very predictable most of the time. Sometimes it's extremely unpredictable. It's a little bit of both, and it's very possible to see AJ Styles debut in the WWE. You never say never in this business.
Absolutely, and especially if they want to continue to grow that NXT brand like they keep talking about, and they want to sell tickets, they want to get more eyeballs on it, AJ Styles would definitely create a buzz.
Definitely.
Would. So, Brian...
Anyways...
go ahead,
sorry,
Jordan, what?
Anyways, guys, I want to thank you guys for letting me be on again tonight on Thursday Night AMP, and I look forward to being on next week.
Oh, all right, Jordan, you got to run. That's fine, and we got to wrap up with Brian too before we get on our next guest. So, Brian, this is the time for cheap plugs.
Sure. Well, everybody can go to BetweenTheRopes.com. You can follow along there, and you can see, you can subscribe to the podcast that we have, they're on iTunes and on Stitcher. And, also, you can check out, we do a weekly, video podcast as well on Tuesdays at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. And you can check it out there. You can go to our YouTube channel, and you can follow us on Twitter. It's at Between the Ropes, or you can follow me personally at Brian Fritz.
Absolutely, Brian. As always, it's a pleasure to talk with you. We don't get to do it often enough, but I always enjoy it when we do. So hopefully, like I always say, the next time won't be as long as the last. You got it. Thanks, man. I really appreciate you having me, and thanks again for all the support and helping out with the campaign for Jerry. Oh yeah, and one more time, let's say that URL again because people can still donate and it goes to that Nashville Rescue Mission. Just go to GoFundMe.com/help Jerry Lynn. That's right, and his funding goal's already been met, but it's all going to charity after that. So if you're supporting Jerry Lynn and supporting his good cause, you're still supporting whether it goes to the surgery or not. So please hit that link and donate a few bucks. You got it, man. All right, thanks, Brian. Take care. We'll talk to you again soon.